Next up is Holly Sullivan. Ms. Sullivan, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Good afternoon, Senator Flexer, Representative Blumenthal, Senator Slapp, Representative Morin-Bello, Senator Sampson, Representative Mastro Francesco, and distinguished members of the Government Administration and Elections Committee. My name is Holly Sullivan, and I am the president of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. I am proud to represent more than 44,000 law-abiding gun owners in our state. Our organization wholeheartedly condemns any violence or intimidation towards any individual, including anybody working in any capacity. I'm also the selectman in the beautiful town of Southbury. I'm here today in opposition to Section 2 of HB 5448. Section 2, line 121, refers to an exemption for individuals who are, quote, licensed or privileged to do so. I don't have a license to carry a firearm. I possess a permit to lawfully carry a firearm. Carrying of a firearm without a permit in any manner is already illegal in every public place in this state. Again, so carrying of a firearm without a permit in any manner is already illegal in every public place in this state. As a selectman, I am expected to frequent town hall in my official duties. However, this bill as written puts a halt to public servants like me being able to perform these responsibilities. There is a ballot box at town hall. The firehouse, where I vote, is 653 feet from town hall. The community center, another voting location, is 393 feet from town hall. With the language that exists today, I and members of my community would be prohibited from utilizing municipal services and participating in civic responsibilities. Further, I am deeply concerned about members of the public who are unaware of locations of ballot drop boxes. In Southbury at Town Hall, our box is outside at the rear top level of the building. It is not at all visible to an individual who utilizes the main parking lot or front entrance. A gun owner who has been background checked by Connecticut State Police and issued a lawful permit in the state may unknowingly be committing a Class D felony. It is simply unjust. It also leads me to mention that the average person is not always aware of how often voting activities occur. This bill would not only impact the month or so around the November elections, but also municipal budgets, school budget votes, and primaries. A notable amount of the year would result in huge territories and services completely off-limited to permitted gun owners. I'm here today to ask this committee to completely remove Section 2 of HB 5448, or alternatively, to explicitly recognize the permit issued by the state and created in statute by this legislature. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Madam President.
Thank you.
Welcome. Glad to see you up there.
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed your testimony, and I especially like that you started by mentioning that the Connecticut Citizens Defense League condemns violence of any kind. And I think that's so important. I mean, certainly the rest of your testimony was on point, but we've been talking about it all day. I think everybody gets the point. The 1,000 feet is absurd, and you're going to end up making criminals out of perfectly decent people who've done nothing. Exactly, including you and me, apparently.
Exactly.
we'll be in that category. But what I think is lost on a lot of folks that are in support of that legislation is the distinction between someone who is a law-abiding citizen who happens to be exercising their Second Amendment right and someone who is a criminal bent on doing harm. So I thank you for being here as in your capacity as president, and I never do this. I never bring up people's race or gender or anything, but you're a woman, you're a mother. I don't think you're what people think of usually, when they think of gun owner or, somebody who's going to be actively fighting for gun rights. So I think it's so important that you break that mold and teach people that our rights are for everyone. It doesn't matter about anything else. Can you expand on that? Because I know that is very near and dear to your heart to make sure that gun ownership is something that people accept as part of our society. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who haven't met me before, but many of the legislators have heard from me in the past, I am a single mother. It's been just my daughter and I since she was 1 year old. I am very proud to serve my community as elected municipal selectmen, and that requires a lot of late nights, and you all know that as well. I've been here at the Capitol building until 3 in the morning, particularly in Judiciary Committee, and I have to go home and I have to get my daughter from wherever she's been at daycare. There are a lot of individuals out there who volunteer their time and volunteer their efforts, and we shouldn't be prohibited from going to the library or going to the town hall to pay our taxes or going to the firehouse because there's a dinner or a banquet celebrating other volunteers in our communities. Particularly as a woman who goes home I live on the Southbury-Roxbury line. There is no cell phone service where I am. So I rely entirely on Wi-Fi at my home because of the pitch of the slope behind my house. There are real realities for why people choose to carry a firearm, particularly for women. It was extremely disappointing for me to hear from the League of Women Voters that they took such a position, because I really don't think that they speak for women voters like me, and that's really hard. And particularly, I also serve on the board of Women for Gun Rights, which is a national organization of women, and many of these women are survivors, and many of them are individuals who have chosen to get involved in public policy because they want other women to have opportunities that maybe they didn't. So really, this is very near and dear to my heart, and I appreciate you asking about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Holly, thank you so much for your comments. You inspire me every time I get to talk to you and hear your story, and I know it affects a lot of other people too. And you're a tremendous ambassador for the Second Amendment and gun owners in general. And I can't stress enough that people need to really come to terms with the fact that there are I don't know, maybe the statistic. How many gun owners are there in the state?
Yeah, actually, I believe we have our most recent FOIA request out on that, speaking of FOIA requests, but I can certainly get that for you, what the 2024 numbers are. But the fastest growing demographic of gun owners across the nation and in Connecticut are women. And the reality is that we are responsible. We are our own first responders. I mean, I'm a big supporter, particularly of my local police department in Southbury. I think they do an amazing job, but they can only be there after I call. And we don't always have that kind of time, particularly as I was mentioning in Southbury where I am, and I don't even have cell phone service. For the last 9 years, I have solely been responsible not only for my safety, but my daughter's safety. I've testified in this building many times about different unintended consequences of various bills, whether it's body armor or other things that I use in my child's backpack to ensure that she has a fighting chance. Please don't take away my ability to go home with a firearm. Look, my selectmen meetings are scheduled, right? It's on Thursday night, every other Thursday. If somebody knows that I can't carry a firearm in town hall, or I'm committing a felony, well, they sure as heck know that when I pull into my driveway that night, I don't have a firearm on me. And I also don't want to be in the position that I'm expected to leave my firearm in my vehicle right now, because what's going on in our state with vehicle break-ins is unexcusable. So I don't think we should be asking law-abiding gun owners to leave their firearms in their car where they're unsupervised when we have such a rampant issue with car break-ins and youth thefts of vehicles. So please don't put women who simply want to protect themselves. And another comment that has come up so much today is intimidation. I hope for one moment nobody thinks that members of organizations like mine don't also get intimidating messages. I've gotten handwritten letters to my house. It's hard. People out there are really horrible to other human beings. And that's not what CCDL stands for. We are there for your individual right to protect yourself and your family. We don't condone violence. We don't want anybody to be intimidated at the polls. But we also don't want to be put into a position where we are scheduled to be disarmed. It is just unjust. And then further, people won't even have the capacity to know the rules of this when we're talking about a quarter-mile radius that happens multiple times throughout the year. It's just not feasible for people to abide by. And quite frankly, even if you made the building a gun-free zone, that is not acceptable to somebody like me. They can plan that I am not armed the second and fourth Thursday of every month. It's just not acceptable. Women should not be put in that position, and particularly women like me should not be dissuaded from performing civic duties or volunteering to be in these elected positions because they will be disarmed.
Amen.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that very much. And thank you for expanding on your testimony significantly. There's nothing that you said that I would disagree with at all. And I mean, there's so many things I'd like to add to what you said. Except my role here is to be a questioner instead of, adding my 2 cents. But I'm glad that you were here to be able to be a spokesperson for the organization and for gun owners that people would not expect, and effectively disarm them. But you're absolutely right. I think there's increasing research that shows that a lot of the most heinous gun crimes that we've witnessed in the last couple of decades across America were committed by people who were purposely targeting gun-free zones and places where they knew that they would have victims that couldn't fight back. And this bill is about creating yet another gun-free zone, and what a place to do it, at a place where we are going to be exercising maybe our most sacred right, which is to choose the people that represent us. So. Very important and very powerful testimony. And thank you to you and your organization for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.